Speaking of mobility, I was a scuba diver before I got into the astronaut program. So I became the first astronaut to hitch rides from whale sharks. That's a great means of transportation. You get where you want to go, when you want to go, with the least fuss and muss. That's what we need.
We're rehearsing for our own future.
So much of what is an automobile is sensation.
People are really driven by time.
The innovation that's happened in the past 20 years isn't what anyone would have anticipated.
We'll move to a future where computers are driving these things.
We are in a period of transition to a sustainable lifestyle.
The building blocks for that future do exist.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just different.
In the years to come, we will soon all be moving around in ways we've never dreamt of. But where will we be moving to in the future?
You mentioned, what's wrong with cities. And when I talk with university students now, think back, oh my God, college was so incredibly fun. A major reason it was fun is because your work, school, your meals, your friends, your play was all within walking distance. And that's what's right with cities.
More than 50% of the world lives in cities, so we just crossed that mark, which is very different from 100 years ago. And we're moving to like 60, 70% relatively quickly.
The megacities are the ones that are larger than 15 million. And it is remarkable, the number of them, and they're incredibly dense.
Megacities are just extremely efficient ways of living. It's essentially huge sharing systems. So when you run a fiber optic or transportation line down a street, they all are able to capitalize on that. When you do it out in the country, it's much less efficient.
I think as time goes on in urban environments, moving around that environment will be facilitated by moving walkways and lift platforms and escalators. And you won't pay for it. You don't pay to get into an elevator. It's just assumed that it's there to go from here to there.
We're not going to be in a mode where we replace all cars. Clearly there will be cars that are driven for fun, but for a lot of people, when you commute every day, almost no one finds that fun.
Like this thing, it sounds great. You know, you come whistling through the buildings of Manhattan, it makes people stop and it makes people look and stare. All of a sudden you feel like a 4-year-old kid and you feel like Steve McQueen at the same time.
All I really need is a little bubble that drives itself. When it runs into something, it doesn't hurt that much. And, it doesn't actually take up that much fuel because it's so lightweight and it's good for the environment for that reason.
Cities are just going to get more and more packed, and so we need to figure out how to be as space efficient as possible. Welcome to the apartment of the future. Clearly needs a little work, but what's great is it's a nice square space. The main idea that I'm thinking is try to use transforming furniture. In New York City, if you can live in a couple hundred square foot less, you're going to save a couple $100,000 or $1,000 a month in rent. And so really, this is nothing less than redesigning the way that we live on Earth.
The way that we use the car and how it interfaces with our buildings is completely going to change in the next 20, 25 years. We're going to take it up the elevator with us, and we're going to have a little 8-foot by 12-foot space where we park the car and walk right into our apartment.
Cars are parked about 90% of the time. So we have to have space available for the cars, not only when they're moving on the roads, but even more space available when they're parked.
Every car in America has 5 parking spaces. So we're giving 1,500 square feet to a car. And that's just crazy. I don't give 1,500 square feet to my children.
Everything that is rigid fails, and everything that can evolve and adapt succeeds. So if we think of highways, you can't use it for any single other purpose, so it can't evolve. So with Boston, we know that highways should not run through the middle of cities. And once we start getting a certain density, we want to reroute that highway.
We're in the place of where the elevated roadway used to be.
The roadway where most of the traffic is going is underneath us. There actually has been statistics that show that there's been a 12% reduction in air emissions and speeding up the traffic going through the city. I think there's a new renaissance of people moving into cities today, and this adds to that whole idea of revitalization and using cities for what they have as benefits.
It comes to a point where you wonder, like, why are we all packaging ourselves in multi-thousand-pound boxes to go just a few blocks?
If we're really going to get at these issues that we're concerned with, we're going to have to do something dramatically different. Can the automobile, as we've always known it, really be compatible with cities of the future?
All kinds of interesting things are going to happen, and they're going to change our lives for the better.
The auto designers of the future are going to have a ball with this, I can assure you.